First prediction, Roman Anthony. I think at some point this year, he will be the starting right fielder for the Boston Red Sox. Listen, I love that Wilyer has, gotten himself right here in spring. He just homered not too long ago. He battled, a pretty decent illness this past offseason, gastrointestinal illness. He lost a lot of weight. But, hey, he said coming into spring, hey, he'll be fine by opening day, get him some at-bats, and he'll be good to go. He even said the weight loss actually helped him in a way, kind of helped his, mobility. He's, feeling lighter. So I appreciate and respect that. Here's the thing, though. We all know Roman Anthony's knocking on the door. This guy looked very good this spring. Now, he ended up kind of tailing towards where he had a lot of success in the beginning of spring, the first half, but then he got sick. Right. And then, he ended up losing some weight. Right. He was hitting very well in the early going. And then after he came back, you started to see his numbers dip a little bit. Right. Ended up right now, he's at a 206 batting average, a 715 OPS, but his on base percentage is a 391. That to me is a very good sign for Roman Anthony. The fact that when you looked at how he was approaching his at bats this spring, I mean, the guy looked like he had been there, done that, right? He just had like this presence at the plate. There's just something about him. He just looked the part this spring. And, yes, he got he got sick, missed time. So that kind of messed with his mojo a little bit. I think he's going to go back down to AAA. I think he's going to get himself into a rhythm. And the one thing with Wilyer, it's, no disrespect to Wilyer, but the one thing I'm a little concerned about is how he is against left-handed pitching. Right, we know he can do damage against righties, right? He showed a lot of good things last year at the plate against right-handed pitching. But I wonder, yes, we did just see a home run recently from Wilyer, but, spring training is one thing. How is Wilyer going to do in the early part of the year? How is he going to do in the first couple of months? I don't know, especially the fact that he didn't get more at-bats and more opportunities against left-handed pitching this spring. So that's where I just wonder. And with Roman, I think at some point he's going to heat up. He's going to get himself right. This is a guy, I think right now, if he had not gotten sick, I think there was a very realistic chance this guy could have made the team. I'm not kidding. I think this guy is going to do so well with the Red Sox. But I do think at some point we're going to see a bit of a Jacoby Ellsbury situation from what we saw back in 2007, where he was knocking on the door, Coco Crisp. He was a little up and down. And Jacoby, he got called up, I believe, later in June. And then, eventually he started getting into a bit of a flow, and he ended up taking over center field in the postseason, right? I think you're going to see a similar situation with Roman. I just think with what he brings to the table from a plate discipline point of view, with what he can do, with just, my goodness. I mean, you just go to the spring breakout game. Look at the home run that he hit in that game. I mean, my goodness, I still don't think that ball's come down yet. This guy can do absolute damage with the bat, but I think the difference maker could be where he can hit both lefties and righties. And I wonder if that's something the Red Sox are going to see. And if Wilyer is struggling, they could turn to Roman, especially if he's hot. So that's something to pay attention to this year. Very, very excited for Roman. And I do think at some point he will be the right fielder for the Red Sox in 2025 or left field, however they do it. I'm not sure how they do it. But here we go. Next prediction here. We got Rafael Devers here on the screen. We got Rafi. And I'm going to say this right now, ladies and gentlemen, I think Rafi, he's going to have himself a great year as the DH. And for the first time in his career, he will hit 40 home runs. Now, Rafi, his career high in home runs is 38 back in 2021, over 156 games. He was very good back that year. He had 279, a 352 on base, a 538 slugging. We had, the bit of drama when it came to third base, right, with Rafi. I mean, Alex Bregman at third base, it's a no-brainer. There was the conversation, maybe Bregman could be at second, but when we started hearing about Christian Campbell, the Red Sox being high on him, it looked inevitable that Bregman was going to be the third baseman, and then you didn't even see Bregman play one game at second base. At one point, I thought, okay, well, they're just waiting for Rafi to come back. Because remember, he missed time in the beginning of spring, and then they would maybe make that move. But as time went on, you didn't see Bregman at second base, right? So Rafi, he's going to be the DH moving forward. I think he will play. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Red Sox are completely they're completely shutting it down. Have we seen Rafi play his last game at third base? I think that could be a possibility. I'm going to leave the door open for him playing there, on a slight part-time basis, but I don't see the point, especially if Campbell is hitting. If he is able to, keep up what he's doing, then I don't see a situation where Devers is playing third. Or the only way I could see it happening is if KC struggles mightily and they have to make a move. But then in that situation, I wonder, do you just put David Hamilton at second base? Or if Vaughn Grissom's hitting well, do you go to him? I think there's a very real chance here that we have seen Rafi play his last game at third base. Now, I saw Section 10. Love those guys. I don't remember who said this, but I saw someone say, I can't remember who said it, but if Rafi was asked to play third base, would he say no? And I don't remember who said it, but I think he said that he thinks that Rafi would turn it down. I don't think he would. I think, to me, if the Red Sox, if Cora needs, let's say, I don't know, Bregman pulls a hammy or something and they need Rafi in an emergency situation to play third, I think he will, right? Again, you got to do what's best for the team. But getting back to the point here, I think we have seen the last of Rafi at third, minus maybe a couple of starts possibly, or whatever it may be. But I think now that he can focus on the bat, and I think now that he can just focus on the hitting, he's going to stay healthy. All right, the last couple of years, Rafi in the second half, he's been dinged up by injuries. I think he's going to be healthy. He's going to be able to focus on the bat. Came so close to 40 home runs back in 2021. I think this year he's going to knock 40 out of the park. I think he's going to have a great year at the plate. I think he's going to be an absolute force at the plate. And you got to remember with Rafi, this guy right now is firmly in the prime of his career, 28 years old. I think we're going to have a monster year from Rafi Devers at the DH spot. For the next prediction, let's see what we got. We got Ryan Helsley here on the screen. Why is Ryan Helsley on the screen? He's not even on the Red Sox. I mean, so what does this even mean? Well, here's my prediction. I think at some point the Red Sox are going to make a move to add a closer to the back end of the bullpen. Like we just talked about, Chapman, he's going to get the first go. If he ends up struggling, maybe a few saves, a few blown saves, that's when I think they'll start looking at other options. That's when I think you could turn to Justin Slayton or Liam Hendricks if he's got himself right. Maybe even Garrett Whitlock, whatever it may be. But I feel like the Red Sox, there's going to be some dancing around in that bullpen. I just have this weird feeling about it. I think there's a chance someone like Slayton could take over the role and hold on to it. You just don't know. The ninth inning is a different animal. It just is, right? I think Slayton had... How many saves did Slayton have last year? I'm going a little blank. I think he had 1 or 2. Let me see here. I think he had 2 saves. He had 2 saves last year. So, but on a full-time basis, how are they going to respond to that? I don't know. It's a different animal in itself. You never know. So, yeah, I think Slayton has the stuff to be the closer. But is that something that he can handle on a game-to-game basis? We don't know the answer to that. I'm not saying he can't. We just don't fully know. I think he has absolutely, he can definitely do it. He has shown, obviously, with what he can do on the mound, that I think there's a very real chance he could be a very good closer at one point. But I don't know. Just not sure about it as of right now. Liam Hendricks has not looked good so far right now. I'm not sure, what's going to happen with that velo moving forward. Is he going to get his stuff fully back to what we've seen in the past? I don't know. I'm going to go with the prediction that there's going to be guys kind of moving around, trying to find roles in that bullpen. And I feel like that's something they're going to be trying to figure out for the first couple of months. I hope I'm wrong, because that would, I'd rather have guys in roles. But I feel like they're going to make a move for a closer at one point. Ryan Helsley is going to be the top option when it comes to the relief market by the deadline. And one other thing I think about, it is with the St. Louis Cardinals. Supposedly, they had a trade basically completed for Nolan Arenado if they didn't sign Alex Bregman. So they've had conversations here with the Cardinals, so you have that interaction already. So I think that's very possible that you can make a move there. If not him, depending on what happens with the Padres, maybe someone like Robert Suarez, I think, could be an option. Depending on what happens with the Giants, could someone like Camille Duvall, who was a closer at one point, I think he's going to have a bounce back year. His metrics look pretty good, but he was having some trouble with his command last year. But if the Giants are kind of in a place where, they're not really fully in it, maybe someone like Camille Duvall could be available at some point. Kyle Finnegan, he just returned to the Nationals on a one-year deal. I'm not expecting the Nationals to be competing, but if he's doing well, I could see him being a possibility. But whatever, I'm going to make that prediction. I think the Red Sox at some point, they're going to want to bolster the back end of the bullpen. I think someone like Helsley would be amazing. I mean, could you imagine? Helsley's your closer. Chapman and Slayton are your setup guys. And then you got, Hendricks and Whitlock and, all these other guys in the mix in that bullpen. What a nasty bullpen that would be. But that's a prediction I got. I think the Red Sox will add a closer at some point. We'll see what happens. Next up. Garrett Crochet. Why is Garrett Crochet on the screen? Ladies and gentlemen, I think Garrett Crochet is going to win the Cy Young this year. I'm feeling pretty good about Mr. Garrett Crochet. You got to remember, last year with the White Sox, first year in the rotation, after getting Tommy John, coming back from Tommy John, and it was his first year in the rotation. This guy was an absolute madman last year. What he did in the first half, he did fade a little bit in the second half. I'll get to that in a second, but the overall numbers this guy put up last year were phenomenal. 32 starts, 2.69 on the FIP, compared to a 3.58 on the ERA. I buy the FIP more because the White Sox are just a bad team, bad defense, right? That was not helping out behind him. But I'm looking at the strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, first off, let's look at the strikeout to walk ratio this spring. 17 strikeouts per 9 this spring. That is absolutely insane. I mean, I know it's spring, but holy cow, what a number. Now, he actually did walk a few guys this spring. 4.6 walks per 9. That translated to 8 walks in 15 2/3 innings. So he's going to clean that up a little bit. I think he's probably playing around with some stuff, trying to get guys to chase on a few things. Again, it's spring. But with the high amount of strikeouts this guy had last year, and just the overall numbers that he put up on a bad team, his first year in the rotation, first year pitching after Tommy John, and first time not being a reliever in the major leagues. The guy absolutely dominated. Yes, he did fade in the second half, but you got to remember, like I said, just coming back from TJ, first year in the rotation. I'm not surprised he had a little bit of fatigue going down the stretch. Stuff wasn't as crisp. He was getting hit a little bit harder. That's okay. He's had a full off season to get himself together. It was a great spring trading like we just saw. I hope they get an extension done. That'd be great. That would be very nice. Could that be a prediction in itself? You know what? I'll say they get something done at some point. I'll work that prediction in here as well. That I think they'll get something done eventually. What I know he has said, he would like to, if something gets done, he would like it to be by opening day. You never know. Maybe by the All-Star break, maybe something could happen then. Maybe the Red Sox are kind of like waiting a little bit, see how it goes in the first couple of months. And then maybe they make a phone call during the All-Star break. I could see something like that. I think eventually an extension will get done. But I think he will be the Cy Young. A lot of people are going with a back-to-back year or back-to-back years for Tarek Skubal. If Skubal's healthy, if he stays healthy this year, yeah, he's going to have a real shot at it. But I think Crochet, man, this guy I think is trending up. Skubal is still going to be dominant if healthy. But I think Crochet, man, I think he's going to take a big step forward this year with the Red Sox. The numbers were just ridiculous last year. And being in an environment like this as well, I think that's going to give him a little extra pep in his step. I'm excited for Garrett Crochet. Very excited. Now for the last prediction. Last prediction for the 2025 Red Sox. Well, you're probably asking me, well, Robbie, are the Red Sox going to win the World Series? You know, what's going to happen? What's going to be the end result for the Red Sox in 2025? Well, I don't know if they're going to win the World Series, but I think they will, in some shape or form, have success in the postseason. Well, what does that mean? Well, what does that mean? Well, you know, you never know. You never know how the postseason is going to shake out, right? It's a crapshoot. You just don't know. Right now, I have the Red Sox winning the division. That is going to be an absolute dogfight until the very end. I think the Orioles are going to be right there. I think the Yankees, they'll find their way in the mix, even though they've lost Garrett Cole, Stanton, who knows what's going on with him. Judge, if he ends up going down, you remember Judge, he has had some injuries, yes, he's had some amazing seasons here over the last few years, but Judge, remember, at one point was an injury risk. Him and Giancarlo Stanton were having trouble staying on the field. So if anything happens with Judge, then I don't know, the Yankees are in real trouble. But I think in the end, the Yankees, they're going to figure it out, and they'll be in the mix in the end. I still have the Yankees as a wild card team. But when it comes to the division, you never know what could happen, especially when you got this much competition. And don't forget about the Blue Jays, right? They've added some talent this offseason. I think in the end, the Blue Jays, I'm not too high on them this year, even though they did do a lot this offseason. And the Rays, they're always pesky. So this is going to be a tough division. And the Orioles, I know a lot of people are very low on that pitching staff. And here's the thing. I think Baltimore's pitching staff can actually surprise some people this year. Yes, you don't have Corbin Burns. Here's the one thing I've noticed over the years. I feel like when everyone focuses on one talking point, I feel like a lot of the times it ends up kind of going the opposite. Like go back to last year. Remember the Red Sox pitching staff last year? Everyone was saying how bad it was. And then all of a sudden the Red Sox had one of the best rotations in the game at one point. Right, the bullpen just completely blew up in the second half. Remember, everyone was talking about how good the Red Sox pitching was last year. In the offseason, we were all begging for Jordan Montgomery to get signed because we had no pitching. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I feel like whenever people focus on that one talking point, a lot of the times you tend to see the opposite happen. I think with the Orioles, yes, they lost Corbin Burns, and to replace him, you brought in Charlie Morton, Tomoyuki Sagano. Yes, Grayson Rodriguez, he's going through a bit of another arm issue. Grayson Rodriguez, my goodness, can that guy please just stay healthy? I think they're going to figure it out in the end. I think Eflin, remember, this guy a couple of years ago was very good. He was starting a postseason game for the Rays. Charlie Morton, he's had a lot of success. I know he's 41 years old, but the guy just keeps going and going and going. At the very least, he's going to be a guy that's going to be a good veteran presence for this pitching staff. Kramer is fine. He's going to give you the innings. Cade Povich, he's a bit of a wild card. Let's see. And not very good numbers last year. But I think Cade Povich could be a guy that ends up having some success. Young lefty there, about to turn 25 years old. He had a decent spring here. 3.07 ERA, 3.42 on the FIP, over 9 strikeouts per 9. 2.4 walks per 9. I think Povich could be a guy that could emerge this year. But one guy I got my eyes on is Tomoyuki Sagano. I feel like Sagano is a guy that no one's really thinking about. I think they look at the age, and he's coming over from Japan. I mean, listen, I don't think age is really that big of a deal, especially when you pay attention to the way he pitches. He's not a guy that's going to blow you away with stuff like Roki Sasaki. But he's a guy, what I like about Tomoyuki Sagano, he's like that classic kind of a pitcher. Honestly, he really reminds me a lot of Zach Greinke. A guy that's not going to blow you away with velocity, but a guy that plays chess out there on the mound. A guy that's going to just work work the hitters, right? He's going to go inside. He's going to go outside. He's going to locate. He's going to, he's going to throw different pitches in different situations. The guy throws a ton of strikes. He's a control artist. That's why he reminds me a lot of Zach Greinke. I think Sagano, coming over from Japan, none of these guys have seen him. I think that's going to take some adjustment, for guys to really start picking up on the scouting report with him. He's a guy that I think could have a very good first half for the Orioles this year. Again, because I just think naturally hitters are going to be building these scouting reports on these guys. And I think Sagano, I think he's going to be a guy that surprises some people in the first half. Again, not going to blow you away with stuff, but the guy knows how to pitch, and he has good enough stuff to get by. The real question is, Grayson Rodriguez, is he going to be back this year? I don't know, man. I hope, for his sake, I hope he is. I mean, the guy just keeps having arm problems. It looks like he's gotten away without any major structural damage. But the Orioles are going to work him back slow, right? They're basically starting from the beginning. But basically, my point here is I think the Orioles pitching staff is going to be better than you think. And if they make a trade at the deadline, maybe Sandy Alcantara, maybe the Padres, they're in sell mode. Maybe they move Dylan Cease, Michael King. And I think the Orioles, they're going to be a tough team. I could really see this Orioles team giving, a very good run this year because that lineup is still very good. Their bullpen, they're getting Felix Bautista back. I think there's a very real chance the Orioles win the division. I did go with the Red Sox when I came out with my predictions a couple of days ago. But you know what? I'm going to lean, with the Red Sox, whatever it may be, whether they win the division or get a wild card. I think the Red Sox are going to have success. I think if they win that division, I think they'll find a way to get by the first round somehow. I think Garrett Crochet, I think he's going to, very least, he'll have let's say he pitches in a wild card game or pitches like game one of the division round. I think that adrenaline is going to be huge for him. And I think he'll end up really helping out whatever first round it ends up being for the Red Sox, wild card or division. And I think the Red Sox they're just gonna have some good momentum going in. Now, the farthest I have the Red Sox going is the American League Championship. I know the American League is pretty wide open at this point, but one team that I really like this year are the Texas Rangers. I just really like that team. I just think they got just a good mix of just talent, just ball players. They just got some kind of a vibe to them, at least right now. You never know how things can turn out, but I just love they brought in a guy like Jock Peterson. That guy meshes with just any team out there. Just a dude. Just likes to hit the freaking baseball, hit the crap out of it. You know what I mean? You add him to guys like Seager and Semien, Wyatt Langford. I think he's going to have a monster year. I'm expecting big things from him. And if DeGrom is healthy, that's a big X factor here. DeGrom, if he stays healthy, that's going to be huge. Eovaldi, we all love Nathan Eovaldi. They completely overhauled that bullpen this offseason. I don't know. Right now, I just like the way the Rangers look. And I think, if everything goes accordingly, I think that team, if the Red Sox run into the Rangers in the postseason, I think that could be a very tough matchup. We're going to be seeing them on opening day, so that could be a bit of a preview. I did have the Red Sox and the Rangers in the American League Championship Series in my predictions. We'll see how that goes. But the Orioles, man, I think that could be a team that could win this division. I feel like the Yankees in the end will be a wild card team. Well, again, you just never know how this is going to work out. But I don't think the Red Sox are going to go to the World Series. I hate saying that. I would love for them to. I hope I'm wrong. That'd be great if they can do it. I think right now the Red Sox, they make it to the wild card round. I'll say this. If the Red Sox make it to the wild card round, I think they'll probably get knocked out in the division round. I think if you lose Crochet and whoever they go with in game 2, I think that's going to be tough going into the division round. Let's say they win the division. Let's say they're a top 2 team, one of the top 2 seeds. They get a bye. Then in the division round, yeah, I mean, again, I think if you have guys like Crochet, Buehler, Houck, I mean, yeah, that's going to be massive. The one thing I worry about with Crochet, a little bit for a deep postseason run is, yes, he did get a lot of innings under his belt this past year, but he's going to pitch more innings this coming year, right? Let's say he gets 180 innings. That's going to be a career high for him, and then he's going to be pitching more in the postseason. So I just wonder from like a fatigue point of view if that could be an issue. I think adrenaline, whether that's a wild card start or a division round game one, I think that could really carry, him in that situation. But then I think once things settle in, I do wonder if that could be an issue for a deep postseason run. It's kind of the way I look at it. I would love for the Red Sox to get to the World Series, but in the end, I feel like they're not going to fully get there. Hope I'm wrong. It'll be amazing if they can do it. I think they have a very good team. I think the Red Sox do make the postseason in 2025, whether that's a wild card or as a division winner.